What's up guys, Josh Hublitz here. If you're new to the channel, former Division I tennis player turned ATP WTA practice partner, I'm doing a series called Practice Partner Chronicles where I go over the almost 40 hits that I had with the ATP and WTA tour this year at Indian Wells, breaking down what each practice was like, what I learned, some fun stories in between. Today, we're going over one of my favorite hits, Flavio Cobolli. I hit with him 3 times. Shamelessly, like and subscribe. Let's kick it off. This was one of my favorite hits by far. I hit with him a couple times. I think what needs to be talked about that isn't talked about enough is the warming up with the pros, like actually the first 5 minutes. It's very different from warming up with, other players in my life. I found that the pros, and especially I realized this with Flavio, they have the perfect progression from like the first ball being just a super chill, relaxed ball. They ramp it up one ball at a time up to the point where they're going full out. And it's like the smoothest transition I've ever seen. And they don't miss. So it's quite literally every single ball is like 1% more. And by the time you've hit 100 balls, like 5-10 minutes in, they're going full out. And the cool thing about that is if you're good enough to not miss, you ramp up with them. And it actually is the best way to warm up. As soon as you interrupt it and you miss a ball, it's kind of like, oh shit, we have to pick up right where they left off. If you can go the first 5 minutes without missing a ball, which is kind of what happened with Cobolli, then you actually get the best warm up of all time. And you really get into like a perfect groove and you end up playing really, really well. So that's something that I experienced with him specifically. It was a perfect ramp within the first 5 minutes. And most of the pros do this. They're not like, tanking a ball in the net in short court or like distracted. Like they're making every single ball in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the warm up. It's insane. The hit itself with Flavio. So we were on practice court practice court 2, which is like one of the main stadium practice courts at Indian Wells. He's explosive. I think I'm I'm slightly bigger build than him, but I've never seen somebody with so much power of that size. Explosive off both ends. The thing that really, really stuck out to me though was how hard he can snap the serve. It's not just like a big serve, it's an unreadable snap. Like it happens so quickly. And a guy of like, that stature, maybe he's 6-ish feet, I'm about 6 feet tall. He's about the same size. I couldn't believe how good his serve was for that size player. Ground stroke wise, maybe my most favorite hit and also one of my most documented practices. Personally, I got into such a rhythm in this practice where like a lot of things started to click. Specifically my timing on the baseline. I was no longer like afraid to take full cuts and full swings. I had a lot of trust and confidence on my, forehand, usually my backhand, but especially my forehand at this point. This was just like an ideal hit for me because his ball was so consistent and so much the same every single ball off both ends. We just got into an incredible rhythm. We're both just like not missing and very much in a good flow state. He brings that sort of mixed, really high intensity with this fun, relaxed, sort of joking attitude. Now there were a couple examples of this. On the changeovers, he's like super, super chill, super relaxed. He's, talking to me about whatever, making jokes with his team in Italian. And he'll turn to me and be like, these guys are fucking crazy. And I'm like, dude, you hired him. And so like we're joking. And then as soon as we step onto the court, he's like, in the fucking zone. And he works really, really, really hard. Some little fun things came out though. He's definitely a little bit of a showman. We'd walk out onto the court after one changeover and he starts juggling the ball with his feet, like the tennis ball, like a lot of the European and South American players do. And he does like 100 in a row. Stuff that you see like Nadal do. And I'm just like sitting over in a corner like, Jesus, like this guy could be a pro soccer player too. He would ham it up sometimes too, like he'd hit like a cool shot, like he'd get the crowd interacting. There were a few Italians in the front row watching us. He would be chopping it up with them, but then he'd flip the switch. When it's time to work, he was like a monster in the best way possible. And I think that's the perfect combo. He really enjoyed his practices. Granted, he's a lot younger. He's 23, 24. So he hasn't had like a decade-long career on tour, or maybe some pros are just burnt out from practicing. For me, it was like one of the most enjoyable practices because of the attitude that he brought. We did an interesting drill. I can't remember who he was playing for which I was warming him up. He wanted me to slice everything. So I was slicing forehands and backhands. He was just ripping forehands. So the drill was basically, I'll move you around the court. No matter where the ball comes to me, like I'm slicing on both sides. So it was sort of like a 75% like movement. Like I'm not going full stretch, like running him side to side. It's like just slice within 75% of the court, move him around. And so I was like, okay, very tough drill to actually execute. The first couple, I kind of like botched a little bit. And then I got into a rhythm. I actually have a very comfortable slice. The person who probably played slices a lot. It's usually why a pro would want to work on that type of drill. The interesting thing is when you hit with these guys a couple of times, so like I hit with him 2 or 3 times, by the second time, I was way more comfortable with his ball. It's actually insane how you get really used to it. Second practice, I was so much more confident. I actually started out hitting him on a few rallies, which was like insane. I got into a little bit of a zone and I like knew what to expect. You're a little bit more settled and you kind of, at least for me, I had like this confidence going into that second and third practice that like, hey, I know I'm gonna play well against him and I know he's gonna give me a perfect ball. So it's just like this really fun experience. I think after that first practice, honestly, one of the best hits of my life. So fun. And you're already like comfortable with the person too. It's like we're sitting on the bench and like our conversation is actually much better than just having just met. This is what I didn't like about the situation. And this just happens sometimes. I was warming up with Francis for like the 3rd day in a row. Now I'll make another video about this, or maybe you see the one posted to my account. Francis and I grew up together. Like we were boys, we were doubles partners, we were rivals in the Mid-Atlantic. So I know Francis well. And so he basically had me hitting with him the whole tournament, which is unbelievable. But when I finished warming up Francis, he was playing Flavio in 2 hours. I get a message from the practice desk. Love the practice desk. Shout out to practice desk. They don't get enough credit. And they were like, oh, can you stay on court 6 or practice court 5, whichever one it was. We got another hit for you. You're there to like, do a job. You got to show up for your hits and like be available. At least I try to make myself super available. The more hits, the better. I didn't know who was coming on court for this next hit. As soon as I finished with Francis, Flavio starts walking on. Remember, they're playing. And Francis is sitting on the bench looking at me and he's looking at Flavio and he's like, you're staying? You're staying here? And I'm like, I just got this message on my phone. I'm like, I think so. Francis goes, nah, you can't play. Like your foot's hurt, your knee's hurting, like you can't play. And I'm like, it's a tough situation. Like, I don't know what to do. So I joked, I told him, I was like, I'm gonna tank this practice for you. I got you. Obviously I didn't do that, but tough situation to be in. I felt guilty. I was like, Francis, like that's my boy. But at the same time, like, what am I gonna say no to a hit with Flavio Cobolli? It all worked out. Francis won. So I think, we got over it, we got past it. All right, if you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. We still have so many hits to go over. Just to name a few: Felix, Bublik, Rinderknecht, Francis, Alexiala, Ostapenko, Taylor Townsend. I'm gonna break them all down. Let me know in the comments. Any questions you have, drop them in the comments, I will respond. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.